This is the story of power, corruption, and justice. A story that proves, even in the quietest streets, truth will always find its badge. The perfect neighborhood. Willow Creek Estates was the kind of neighborhood that could have been printed on a postcard. Freshly cut lawns, white fences, and driveways lined with identical mailboxes. It was beautiful, but behind that beauty lived fear. Every rule, every flower height, even the color of your curtains, was dictated by the HOA president, Vivian Harlow. Elegant, icy, and obsessed with control, Vivian treated the community like her personal kingdom. She believed order was everything, and anyone who broke it became her enemy. Ethan Cole had moved in 6 years ago. To neighbors, he was quiet, polite, and solitary, a man who never caused trouble. They didn't know he was chief of police for the city. After losing his wife, Emily, in a car crash 3 years ago, Ethan wanted peace. He'd built a wooden fence around his garden, engraved with his wife's favorite quotes and a small plaque reading, "Forever my home." But Vivian didn't care for sentiment. The fence wasn't uniform. It wasn't approved. First came the letters, then the fines, then the threats. Ethan ignored them, until one evening, Vivian herself showed up at his gate, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Cole, your fence violates community standards. You have 72 hours to remove it." "This fence is a memorial," Ethan replied calmly. "It's not coming down." Vivian smiled coldly. "Then I suppose we'll have to enforce compliance. One way or another." Ethan looked her straight in the eye. "Be careful what you enforce, ma'am. You might not like the response." Vivian turned and left, but in her heart, a line had been crossed. She wasn't used to being challenged, and she was determined to make an example out of him. That night, the camera lingered on Ethan standing before his fence, the wind whispering through the flowers, unaware that the storm had already begun. The officers at the door. It was past midnight when headlights crawled up Ethan's driveway. 3 men stepped out of a black SUV, wearing police jackets and badges that gleamed under the porch light. They approached the door and began pounding hard enough to shake the frame. "Ethan Cole, open up. You're under arrest for HOA property violations and harassment of board members." Ethan, who had been reviewing case files in his study, set his glasses down slowly. Something about their tone was off, too aggressive, too rehearsed. He opened the door. "May I see your warrant?" The tallest man thrust forward a crumpled paper, printed on HOA letterhead. Ethan's sharp eyes caught the misspellings, the mismatched fonts, the cheap badges that didn't even reflect the right way. His instincts kicked in. They weren't cops. They were faking it. "Who sent you?" he asked. The man hesitated, glancing toward the street. Ethan followed his eyes, and saw a familiar figure sitting in the darkened SUV. Vivian. At that moment, Ethan realized she had crossed into criminal territory. He stepped aside slightly and said coolly, "You boys should know, impersonating an officer is a serious crime." The man scoffed. "You don't tell me about the law, buddy." Ethan's tone changed, calm, but commanding. "No, you don't understand. I am the law." He reached into his jacket and revealed his badge, Chief Ethan Cole, City Police Department. The fake officers froze. In seconds, Ethan pressed his earpiece. "Dispatch, I have 3 individuals impersonating officers at my residence. Send units." Sirens wailed in the distance within minutes. The imposters tried to run, but Ethan's security cameras had everything on record. Real squad cars arrived and swarmed the driveway, lights flashing red and blue across Vivian's terrified face in the SUV. This etape Ravels. By morning, Willow Creek was buzzing like a hive. Everyone had heard about the fake arrest. Some were shocked. Others secretly cheered. 4 years, Vivian's HOA had been untouchable. But now, cracks appeared in her kingdom. Ethan went to work as usual, calm, focused. But behind the scenes, he ordered a full investigation into the HOA. He used his authority carefully, not to punish, but to expose. When his detectives began digging, what they found was staggering. Falsified HOA letters, misuse of community funds, intimidation of elderly residents, and forged signatures on official documents. Vivian had built an empire of lies, and for years, no one dared question her. Until now. Ethan arranged a quiet meeting at City Hall. He presented the evidence, file after file, witness after witness. The city's attorney agreed. Vivian's HOA had crossed every legal boundary imaginable. Later that evening, Ethan visited Mrs. Patterson, an 82-year-old widow who had been fined $500 for having too many wind chimes. She cried when he told her the investigation was open. Blaziu, sangue, she said softly. We thought we'd never see justice here. For the first time since his wife's passing, Ethan felt something inside him heal. He wasn't just fighting back, he was protecting others again. Meanwhile, Vivian's once loyal board members began turning on her. Her emails leaked. Her reputation shattered. And yet, she still believed she could outsmart the system. She had no idea the chief of police himself was preparing the final blow. The court of truth. The courtroom was packed.
I saw him take her.
Vivian Harlow,
I tried to stop him,
queen
but he was
Willow
too
Creek,
strong.
Now sat behind a table with trembling hands. Ethan entered quietly, not as a vengeful man, but as a representative of justice. When he took the stand, his words were calm and precise. HOAs are meant to protect communities, not control them. What Ms. Harlow did wasn't governance. It was abuse of power. Witness after witness shared their pain. A single mother fined for her kid's bicycle, a veteran threatened with foreclosure over a flagpole, an elderly man publicly shamed for overgrown ivy. Each story built a wave of emotion. Even the judge's eyes softened. Vivian tried to defend herself, claiming everything was for order and appearance. But when the prosecutor displayed video evidence of the fake arrest attempt, including Vivian's SUV visible in the background, the room fell silent. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "It wasn't supposed to go that far." The verdict was swift. Guilty on multiple counts: fraud, harassment, and impersonation complicity. The HOA was dissolved by court order. Vivian was banned from serving in any administrative role for 10 years. For the first time, Willow Creek's residents applauded, not out of malice, but relief. Years of silent fear had ended. A new beginning. Months passed. The scars of control slowly healed. The residents formed a new, transparent HOA, democratic, kind, fair. Meetings were open. Rules were humane. Ethan continued living quietly, still visiting his wife's memorial fence every morning. The wood had been repainted, the roses she loved bloomed brighter than ever. One day, a neighbor, a young mom named Leah, stopped by. "Chief Cole," she said shyly, "we were wondering if you'd join the new HOA board. We could use someone like you, someone fair." Ethan smiled gently. "No, Leah. You don't need someone like me. You just need to remember what justice feels like, and protect it." As he walked away, the camera followed him down the serene street. The same one that had once felt suffocating now seemed peaceful. Children played by the fountains, flags fluttered freely, and laughter returned to porches that had long been silent. In the final scene, Ethan placed his badge on the windowsill beside his wife's photo. "Justice served, Emily," he whispered. "Just like you'd want." The wind blew softly through the roses, and for the first time in years, he smiled. The neighborhood, and his heart, had finally found peace. Fade out. Slow music. End credits roll.